Welcome, learners and students. Welcome to the lecture third of week 4 about the Usman Dan Fodio and his movement. I am Dr. Imtiazul Huda, Assistant Professor, Department of Islamic Studies, Aligarh Muslim University. Dear friends, dear students, up to now we have understood a great deal about the Usman Dan Fodio. Let's have a glance over the reformist ideologies of the Usman Dan Fodio. First of all, we have to understand in the perspective of the critic of traditional practices, how he has been a critic of the traditional practices which were prevalent in his region in the Hausa Fulani land. Usman Dan Fodio challenged old customs in his teaching. The old customs that were not in conformity with the teachings of the Holy Quran and as well as with the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even it was contradicting with the concept of Tawheed. So he had challenged such sort of customs that were prevailing in his region. Further, he was of the opinion that, or he believed that, the traditional practices often led to injustice. It was the root cause of the injustice. It was about prioritizing the thing, giving advantage to the particular thing. That's why he believed these old traditional practices often led to injustice. Furthermore, on his critique, the way he has criticized the traditional practices, he especially focused on promoting the equality among the people. The traditional teaching also consider about the inequalities. They mistreat the people on the basis of their gender, on the basis of their tribe also, on the basis of their ethnic origin also. So he criticized that and he tried to unite and he tried to promote the concept of the equality among his people, that we all are equal in the light of the teachings of the Holy Quran and as well as the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Furthermore, he also criticized on the aspect of education. Education was only for the selected one. So he was of the opinion that education can improve the structure of the society. Because it is through education the people can know about the values of the human being. Values of the human being as well as the values of the faith, the importance of the faith. That's why he encouraged the education in his criticism to the traditional practices. That uneducated person are always subjected to the torture, oppression and tyranny also. They doesn't know about their rights. They doesn't know how to combat these things. So he emphasized on education that can improve the society, the nature of the society, the quality of the society. Furthermore, he also criticized the misuse of the religious authority. There were many priests and clerics who were considered as a pious and devout person. But they used to misuse their power, misuse their position for their own benefit. as well as to draw their own following, huge following. So he criticized the misuse of the religious authorities. Furthermore, he was very much critical, and that's why he wanted to reform practices that harm the community, all the practices that were harming the community. Furthermore, he emphasized on his critic that moral values and ethics are an important aspect which were not at that time. They had become morally corrupt. Unethical practices had came into their culture. Even that lead to the many sort of fornications also. That is totally wrong. It is corrupting the society. So he was very much critical about that one. Furthermore, in his criticism, he advocated for a more inclusive approach to leadership. That a leader should be of a very strong nature, a strong quality. If he will be of the strong character and quality and nature, then definitely the society will also reflect his quality. The way he will administer, the people will follow it. Because the leader is also the spiritual and religious head of the community. So he advocated of the more inclusive approach to leadership. Furthermore, his ideas were aimed to empower the marginalized people, the marginalized section of the people. Many people were even working as a bonded labor in the West Africa. Many kingdoms were forcing them to be a bonded labor. Slave trade was at its zenith also. So they were the marginalized one. Even the women's were also, or they came also under the marginalized section. So he wanted to empower those marginalized ones. Furthermore, we can say that his legacy inspires the ongoing discussion about the reform. Later onward, it was considered an important aspect in the West Africa. Usman dan Fodio was an advocate for the law, the Sharia. He advocated Sharia, that the Sharia has its importance. What he means? That he was of the opinion that the key figures in promoting Sharia law in the West Africa, that he was basically, he tried to implement Sharia laws. That all should be covered in the paradigm of a Sharia. And dear learners, we are aware Sharia is an integral part of the Muslim society. A Muslim society is governed on the basic of Islamic principle that itself is called as the Sharia. The norm, the trend, the etiquettes, and all the things is in the Sharia. And an individual has to follow Sharia. So he advocated, he was a key person, key advocate for the implementation of Sharia in the later 18th and the 19th century in West Africa, especially in his land, the Hausa Fulani land of which he belonged. As he had started his movement, he called the people toward Islam by disseminating the concept of Tawheed, the teachings of the Prophet, and to be firm on the Sharia, to govern the life on the basis of the Sharia. He believed that Sharia was an essential for a just society. Within the paradigm of a Sharia, if a society is governed by the Sharia, so the justice will be delivered in time. Because it is a crux of the just society, a true society, a society free from all sort of errors. Because they all are following a particular norm, particular trend. So it forms a just society. Furthermore, while his advocacy for the Sharia, his teaching emphasized on the moral and ethical behavior based on Islamic principle. That principle is the Sharia, the principles of Sharia. He encouraged education and literacy to understand Sharia. Why? People of this region was majority of them illiterate. Only few one of the literate one, the elite one, the nobles one. And the rest remaining were the illiterate. So he emphasized that if they will be educated, then they can understand what Sharia demands from them. That's why he has emphasized as well as encouraged on education and literacy in his region so that these people can understand the Sharia very well. Through his Sharia, advocacy for Sharia, he led a jihad against the non-practicing Muslims, against the non-practicing rulers, the rulers who were not following Islam. Though by name they were Muslim, but they were not practicing. Even their kingdoms were not following the norms of the Sharia. So that's why he had led a jihad to establish an Islamic state that should be governed by a Sharia. In the later, as we will proceed, we will learn that he had established a caliphate, Sokoto Caliphate, a state based on the Sharia. He wrote extensively about the benefit. He has numerous writings. He has delivered various lectures. And in each of his writing and his lecture, he talked about the benefits of the Sharia, that how the Sharia is beneficial. He was also of the opinion that the ulmas has their role in the society. And what were his opinion regarding the ulama? That he feels so, Usman and Fodio feels so, was of the opinion that the ulmas can help in the spread of Islamic knowledge and practices in the community. These are the ulama, mean the scholars of Islam, because they are aware, they know the Islam very well. They can interpret the rulings also, so they can easily spread the Islamic knowledge and the practices in the community, the true practices, the ways and method of practicing Islam. He was of also the opinion that the ulmas can guide the people on how to live according to the Sharia. Because the ulmas are the guiding person also. Somehow, in our day to day life, dear learners, we found an educated, a learned person. We try to inquire more and more from him. And the way he expressed the thing, the perfect way he addressed the thing, we try to follow on that aspect that he is saying the absolutely correct method. So we can understand and we can practice the thing the way he has interpreted. So the ulmas has the greater role in shaping a society. He was of the opinion that the ulama can play a key role in educating the youth about their faith. Now, as the person is growing up, they reach the adolescent age, they attain the youthhood. The ulama can train them, can educate them about the faith, that what the faith demands from us, what the Islam demands from us. So they can play a key role in educating the youth who are not aware about the teachings of Islam and the faith. Because in due course of time, they had almost gone astray. He was of all the opinion that the ulama can help to interpret the Islamic law and teaching as per the need and requirement from time to time. These ulama can help in the interpretation of the Islamic law and the teachings with the usage of ijtihad. Thus, Usman dan Fodio himself relied mostly on the ulama for their advices and their support also. Whenever he faced any difficulty in understanding anything, he used to consult the ulmas, the scholars of Islam, and even act upon their advices also. If you remember, I have mentioned one of his teachers, Jibril ibn Usman, to whom he admired and he followed the way he had expressed. And it was his address resulted into his movement also. If you remember, I also mentioned the name of Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah was the great scholar, ulama. He read the work of Ibn Taymiyyah and the way Ibn Taymiyyah has interpreted. He had applied that thing in his own philosophy, in his own movement, the way he had started his movement and the way his movement has progressed. Further, he was of the opinion that ulama can organize religious gathering. For example, by holding an ijtima to strengthen the community bond. For example, calling them for a particular speech simply regarding defining the articles of faith and what the impact on the society can. So in this way, the ulama can also organize the religious gatherings. And through this religious gathering, they can create an environment of the religious brotherhood also. That all the people who are following the one religion, they are brothers in the religion, in faith. So, for the creation of a very good society, for a community bond, further we can say the teachings of the ulmas can emphasize on the moral values and social justice. They can address the basic themes based on the moral values, how the morality counts. For example, somehow we talk about the rights of an individual. These are only the moral teachings. If we consider, then we can be firm on this one. So, the moral values and the social justice is the right of an individual is based on the concept of the moral value and the social justice. This was his approach regarding the ulama, that in this way the ulamas can address, they can play an important role. Usman Dan Fodio was of the opinion of the community empowerment. And he had addressed the ways by which the community can be empowered. The first one, the building of the educational institutions. He focused on, he means Usman Dan Fodio, focused on the creating of schools and the learning center. There were numerous mosques in the region. Many few people used to visit the mosque just because of the scenario, what was there at the time. What he has done, he started associating schools with the local mosque. He appointed his followers as a teacher to that schools, so that they can draw the audience, the students at these schools, the children, and they should taught the teachings of Islam, the Quran, the Sunnah, and many more things, as well as the learning centers also. The learning centers where the Islamic books and some other books were also kept, so that the people can read and learn from such books. They can become educated by learning and understanding. So this was his purpose of building a religious education or educational institution. He believed that the education is essential for everyone. Why? The basic reason was the first revelation. That every reformer, to whomsoever we can understand, no, they talk about the importance of education just because of the first revelation. Because the first revelation was about the education, the importance of the education. That a person should be educated, he should know the reading, the art of reading the thing, and then understanding the thing on the basis of that one. Further, his goal was to improve knowledge in society. What he feels, there's a lack of knowledge can create blunders in the society. So, if the people will be knowledgeable, they themselves can rectify the errors. They can play an important role so that their society should not become or should not go astray. He further encouraged teaching both religious and the secular subjects. What I said about the education center, the learning center, the books of different fields were also kept in the centers so that apart from the religious book, they can also study more subject also, the secular one, the scientific subject, the social sciences subjects, the humanities also. Because all the subject will improve his understanding. The more he will study, then he will much more be firm on his faith. Because every subject somehow give a very simple message. The message is about the greatness of Allah Almighty, the uniqueness of the Allah Almighty, the oneness of the Allah Almighty. Our brain is very limited. The much we can understand is a bit. So the more we will study, the more we will understand. So this was his approach. That's why he encouraged both sort of education. He never was of the view only religious education should be imparted. No. The modern education should also be imparted to the people. Furthermore, we can say that Usman Dan Fodio wanted to empower people through education. His motto was education for all. Then they can also learn about the atrocities they are facing by the hand of the rulers, how the rulers are misusing here. It is an education which brings, which widens our understanding power, the level of understanding. He established a system of teachers and the students also, while discussing about the educational institution, the way he had discussed. He established a system. His effort led to the spread of literacy in the region. It was just because of him in the 19th century we found establishment of the various academic institutions. Though during his lifetime it was not possible. But in the later 19th and even in the 20th, numerous academic institutions were established. Just for example, there is a university in Nigeria which itself is named after Usman Dan Fodio University. And every aspect, every subject is being taught in this university. So it has increased the literacy rate in the region. The message he had sent to his people, it has a great approach. It was accepted by the people that education is necessary for all. Further, his own work had inspired the future generation, the generation of the later 19th and the 20th century, even in the 21st century also. in the Nigeria and the area adjoining to it, we found that the people are still following the pattern that has been set up by Usman Dan Fodio himself. They consider these are the absolute one. These are the flawless one. So thus we can say that his legacy still influence the legacy of education nowadays still influence. He had also promoted the economic self-sufficiency. Basically, he focused on helping people to become economically independent and stable. He had developed an environment of the working that every person should earn, be religious and also earn also for their livelihood. Because it is a part and parcel of a life. Islam doesn't demand that we should only worship. No. Simultaneously, we have to indulge into the worldly affairs also. It is a part and parcel of the Islamic teaching. And we have to work for our sustenance and to become economically stable also. The purpose was if we will become the economic, then we can help the others. Because in Islam, there is a concept of zakat. All the economically stable person had to compulsory contribute to zakat. This was his main focus on that one. He encouraged farming and the trade so that the local economies can also boost up. That they had a land, they should cultivate their land. Whatsoever the product their land can produce, they should produce these things. And they should sell it to the market. Use the latest techniques and method of farming also, just to have the high output. And this will also encourage or boost the local economy. He also insisted on the trading of the farming or the product that comes from the farming, whether wheat, whether grains, and many more things. It should be traded also. It will bring revenue and stability to the community. Furthermore, he promoted the fair business practices among the merchants. He said that there should be a contract. All the things should be in contract. The dealing should be very fair. The amount that are to be involved, it should be very fairly paid off also. So, he was a favor of the fair businesses. He supported the idea of sharing resources within community. Somehow someone has grown or had grown some more thing in additional. So they can exchange also their product. The sharing, the concept of the sharing he introduced is supported. Basically, the main purpose was to reduce the reliance from the outside instead of depending from the outside, that some outer help we can purchase, we can get from the outside. Now, if within the community anyone has something more sufficient than him, they can exchange, they can share with each other. Why to go outside when we can resolve the issue within our community? So this was to reduce the reliance from the outside. Furthermore, he was of the opinion regarding that the woman should have a role in a society, that the woman should have a role in a society. If you remember, when I was discussing a bit about the women, I said they were not treated well. They have no say in the Hausa-Fulani land. So he was of the opinion, no, that the women have a role in the society. And he emphasized on the importance of the contribution of the women also in the society. I can cite a very simple example. We all are aware about the books of tradition, the hadith books. In majority of the hadith narration, we found the name of the women transmitters, that they had transmitted the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad. So the women played an important role in transmitting the education. And he believed that women should have a voice in the community decision. Somehow, they should be used for the witnessing also. Their concerns should be addressed, because the women know better about the women. The women know better about the other women. So they can resolve the issue of the women if they will have a representation. So he advocated for the representation of the women. Furthermore, he was of the opinion that education for women was a key focus. That all the women in his society should be educated. Why? He considered that the women are the brain builders of the society. They are the constructor of the society. Furthermore, he encouraged women to participate in the religious and social activities. What happened? Women were not accompanying their male partners if they proceed to perform the Hajj. I said, no, they should also be. If a male person is going to perform the Hajj, the woman should also be taken along with them, because they are equally worthy of performing the annual pilgrimage. So he advocated that they should have a participation in the religious activity and as well as in the social activities also. It means he was advocating about the democracy. In a democracy, everyone has a representation, participation. He advocated. He recognized that By empowering the women can uplift their families. What I have said, they are the brain builders. They are the community builders. They are the formulators of the coming generations. This was the reason. And in the view of Usman Dan Fodio, women were seen as a vital in spreading knowledge and culture. If the woman will be a woman will be educated, then she will teach her children very well. She will infuse the maximum knowledge in the children. She can infuse the etiquette, the morality, the culture in the children. And the children of such women can shape a better community in future. So that's why simultaneously Usman Dan Fodio advocated for the equal rights and opportunities for the women also, that they should get the equal rights. For example, choosing a leader, they should get a right and opportunities. If they can trade, they can given the opportunity to trade also. From where he dropped an idea, we found the name of Hazrat Khadija bint Khuwailid, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad. She was a trader, she was a businesswoman, she was an independent woman. So here also he advocated that they should be given opportunity also. Whatsoever the good they want to do. If they want to become a religious teacher, they should give the opportunity also to become a religious teacher. We can say that his ideas helped in changing the traditional views on women's role. There the traditional view that women doesn't have any power. They are useless. They are only for making a family. No, they are not only for the making of a family. They have the wider contribution to the society. He inspired many to support women involvement in leadership. Still, we find that its legacy continues. Nowadays in West Africa, we found the many women leaders who are greatly dealing the politics very well.